Let's talk about Pinterest ads. In today's video, we're going to be talking about everything Pinterest ads. This is going to be a complete A to Z guide that is going to teach you everything that you need to know, including how to set up your Pinterest ads, best practices for Pinterest ads, and everything in between. So if you are looking for strategies or best practices to get more sales or leads for your brand or store, then you are in the right place. So first, let's talk about why you may want to consider running Pinterest ads in the first place. The first reason is that 45% of people on Pinterest in the United States make over $100,000 or more. Next, 97% of searches are unbranded. You can also target keywords inside of Pinterest, keywords and audiences, where on other social media platforms, most of the time it's just targeting audiences without the search intent. In Pinterest, you can target specific keywords, which is really huge. And I'm going to show you what I mean here in a little bit. Next, I'm going to kind of state the obvious, but Pinterest is often very overlooked when it comes to running ads. And so a lot of advertisers go to platforms like Facebook and a lot now to TikTok or even Google ads, but a lot of people overlook Pinterest. And so it's a lot of times less competitive to run Pinterest ads. Pinterest advertising is growing 6.2% versus Facebook's 2.2%. So more advertisers are moving that way. However, the numbers are obviously very different, but take that for what you will, but that's according to Hootsuite. Now, and if you're watching this and you're wondering what the heck does a Pinterest ad even look like? You may have been seeing them while you're scrolling through Pinterest and not even noticed it. And that's one of the other things that I really like about Pinterest is that the ads don't really look like ads a lot of the times. Here I am on my home feed. And as you see, as I scroll through here, actually one of these first pins is just an ad. You can see promoted by, that means that this is an ad. And this is actually targeting very well because I am actually getting ready to move soon. Over here, we have renter's insurance. It is funny, these are kind of home related. And then over here, you have another ad as well. So this is just inside of my home feed. It's just serving, kind of random ads based on probably my browser history and different things like that. But let me show you where Pinterest ads become really powerful as well. So if I come over here and I'm searching, say that I'm wanting to find a cooking recipe. So we're going to go through and search for cooking recipes. What you're going to notice here is we scroll through and look at this right here. So this is an ad, but this to me, honestly, if I'm not looking for this promoted by, it looks very much just like a recipe that I would click on and go through and save. And I can go through and save this into my board. And then that ad can continue to get organic impressions. As we scroll through, there's probably a lot more inside of here. Let's see if we can find another ad promoted by. Another great example of a good Pinterest ad because you can see it kind of blends in. It looks like something that I'd be searching for. Let's try another niche. Let's go for home decor. So you can see here as we're looking for home decor, there is another one. This one looks a little bit more like an ad to me, but let's go through and look and see if we can find any other examples here. There's a Wayfair one, lots of different great things, but also what a lot of people do inside of Pinterest, which is really powerful as well. As you can see here, there's this little tab. A lot of people will come to Pinterest and they'll search for home decor and they're only looking for things that are for sale. And basically what this is it's like a Google, but with images. People are searching for home decor, but they want to see pictures instead of text like Google often does. So you can see Wayfair is running a lot of ads inside of here. This one's this Max and Lily furniture, but you can imagine that this is very powerful because the people that are searching for home decor in this specific niche are going to be very, very likely to go through and purchase. Another example could be something like workout routines. Let's see if we're in the sales tab. You can see here, Peloton running something here. You have Better Men's Health Coaching, coaching app essentially. But you kind of get the idea, right? There are many different things that you can do inside of Pinterest, and the intent is very high because a lot of times you can target these specific keywords. So now that we understand why we might want to consider running ads inside of Pinterest and what Pinterest ads actually look like, let's actually go into a demo account and talk about how to set up ads inside of Pinterest. So here we are inside of one of my demo Pinterest accounts, and the first thing that you need to know about running ads inside of Pinterest is that you do need to have a Pinterest business account. And in order to know if you have a Pinterest business account is if you are on your main screen here, if you look up in this top right hand corner, if you don't see this little ads column, that means you have a personal account and you need to come over here into the settings and go through and change to a business account. Now, before we start running our ads, there is one crucial step that we need to go over, and that is if you come over here to the ads tab and then we come over to conversions. You're going to see inside of here, if this is your first time in this conversions tab, it's going to prompt you to set up your Pinterest pixel and set up conversions for that pixel. What this does is it allows you to understand which ads, campaigns, or ad groups are actually driving sales, leads, or whatever important metrics are for your business. This is a crucial step because without this, you're basically flying blind when it comes to running ads, and you'll only be able to see when people click on your ads, but you won't be able to see if those ads generate revenue for your business. So I highly recommend going through and setting up your pixel. You can see that mine's set up here for my demo Shopify store, and I can see the page views, the view categories, the add to cart, and then also the initiated checkouts and purchases. There are no purchases because this is a demo website, but in order to see that, you do have to set up the pixel. I have two different videos that go over this, one for if you are on a Shopify store and another one if you are on other websites on how to do this through Google Tag Manager. So if you haven't already set up your Pinterest pixel, I encourage you to have that set up before you continue on through the rest of the video. Those videos are linked down below, so go through and check those out. So I'm not going to be going over it necessarily in this part just because I've already made videos on that, but it is a very important step. So now that we have that out of the way, we are now going to move on to actually going through and creating our ads. In order to do that, you're going to come over to ads and then create campaigns. And here you can see that Pinterest is going to ask you to choose your campaign objective. Now, when it comes to these campaign objectives, you have the brand awareness and the video views. And for most people watching this, I'm going to probably recommend that you stay away from those two. These are mostly for big brands like Nike and big insurance companies, different things. They don't really care if people are actually going through and clicking and converting. And these guys have millions and millions of dollars to spend on advertising. So for anybody watching this, I probably recommend that you stay away from video views or brand awareness. The next is drive consideration, which is to get people to go through and click to your website. With this objective, Pinterest is basically going to try to get as many people to go through and click on your ad and go to your website. And then here on the right, you can see we have get conversions, which is a lot of times where the money is at. Under the conversions column, this is where you can tell Pinterest based on the events that you have on your website, say a purchase or a lead form, what you want Pinterest to actually go through and optimize towards. So instead of getting people to click onto your website, get as many people to click on your website as possible, Pinterest is going to try to optimize to get as many purchases, sales, or leads from your website as possible. And then finally, we have the catalog sales. If you go through and connect your Shopify catalog to Pinterest, you can start running catalog ads as well, which dynamically pulls a lot of your data from your catalog into the ads themselves. So like I said, for most people watching, I would recommend one of these three, but most of the time I'm choosing conversions. Unless I have a catalog set up, I will go with the catalog sales because both of these are kind of bottom funnel actions that actually drive revenue for the business. And next we have the campaign name. So I generally like to keep the campaign objective that I'm using here, conversions, and then I'm just going to call this test because that's what we're doing right here. Test conversions basically. Next, you can keep your campaign status active or paused. Most of the time, if you're going through and creating the campaign, you're going to want to leave this active. If for whatever reason you want to have it paused, you can do that. Here, you can set the budget and schedule. This is a new little feature here with the beta flexible daily budgets. Basically, what this does is because Pinterest is starting to collect more data like a lot of the other platforms, is on a certain day, if it feels that, say your budget is $10 a day, it thinks that it can get you more sales if it's spent 15 on a Saturday, but on a Monday, maybe only 7. It will go through and kind of fluctuate through those. I've been testing this a little bit and seeing mixed results, so you can kind of opt into that if you would like. As you can see, it is in beta, so it is a little bit early. Sometimes opting into betas can give you an advantage over other advertisers, but for now, I'm going to recommend that you leave it unchecked because it is a little bit more of an advanced feature. So the other options that we have here for campaign budget is the daily or lifetime. Most of the time, I keep my budgets on a daily. It's just how I like to run them. If you are running a sale for whatever reason, say that you have a weekend sale where you're selling scarves and they're 50% off weekend only, then a lifetime budget that runs between the weekend so it automatically turns off and you don't forget about it and keeps running kind of thing might be good there. But most of the time I run a daily budget. So we're just going to set that at $10. And then you can see here you have the option to run continuously on that daily budget or run on a specific dates for like a weekend sale, for example. Now we're going to hit continue. And that is then going to take us to the ad group. And here you can see the ad group name. And what I actually like to do with the ad group name is to describe what kind of audience I'm targeting inside of there. So I don't name it right now. I'm going to come back to that after we've gone through and created the audiences that we are going to be targeting. And when it comes to targeting audiences, there's actually a few different ways, and we're going to be going over all of those ways here. It's going to ask you to select a strategy, reconnect with users, find new customers, or choose your own. I like to select this choose my own because that way I have all the different options available to me, both finding customers and reconnecting to users. So we're going to select this right here. It's going to give us all of these different options where we can target people based on audience lists, based on interest and keywords, based on demographics, and then placements. Now, when it comes to an audience list, you can see that it's optional inside of here. You can either use an existing list if you have one created, or if you don't know how to create one, I'm going to show you how to do that. So if we hit here, create new audience, you can see that Pinterest is going to give us 4 different ways to create our own audience. We have the engagement, site visitors, customer list, and then an act-like audience. An act-like audience is what they call it, which if you're familiar with Facebook ads is a look-like audience, essentially, where you're taking a group of people who have purchased and then finding people who look like those people who have purchased. And as you can see here, this engagement one is new, and it's actually really awesome. I've been really enjoying this new feature. It's about time that Pinterest has added this in, honestly, and I'm very excited for it. So how this works is basically you go through and give this audience a name. So let's say that we wanted to target people who engaged with our pins. You can go through and give this audience a description if you'd like. Here it's going to ask when adding this audience list to an ad group, include or exclude. And because in this case, this would be kind of more like a remarketing audience for people who engage with our pins, we want to include anybody who's in this list. Where you'll want to start using the exclude is when we come down here and talk about this act like audience, but we'll get to that later. And next you can see here, it's going to ask for our engagement audience, and I'm going to move myself out of the way here. And basically you can see here what this means. If we scroll over this, if you select any engagement event, you'll target people who have performed any engagement actions such as video view, pin click, outbound click, saves, comments, etc. If you choose an optimized event, and remember you have to have your pixel set up in order to do an optimized event, it's people who have done more high intent actions such as a purchase, an outbound click, or even filled out a lead form on your website. We're going to keep this on engaged actions for now. And then now it's going to ask you the actual source on how you want to target these people. And you can see here that you have pin ID, campaign ID, objective, pin ID. If we click here, you can go through and select a specific objective, or the most common one that I like to use is this pin ID. You may be wondering how you go through and find this pin ID. So say that there was a Pinterest pin that you organically posted and it really took off, or you were running it as an ad and it really took off and is seeing really good results, and you want to retarget anybody who's gone through and engaged with that pin. What you could do is come over to that pin inside of Pinterest. Let's just say that this is our pin that is really just popping off. If you click on here, and then you'll notice in this URL, there's a little string of numbers. If you go through and copy this right here, and it has to be from your account, so keep that in mind. You'll notice that this is the Mozo House, and then I'm coming, and we're in the Mozo House, the Mozo House ad account. Put that in there, and then now we just have to select the domain that we've claimed, and then you can see we can go through and create this audience. And as you can see here, it will take Pinterest around 48 hours to go through and create that audience. So do keep that in mind when you are running your ads. And in case you're wondering on how to go back to that audience or create more audiences like this, if you come over to ads and then audiences, you can see here are the list of audiences that we've gone through and done. And do keep in mind that your audience does have to reach a certain threshold in order for you to run ads to them. So you can see that this one that I created earlier is too small and won't be able to run just because it's that one pin that didn't really get engagement. But if you wanted to create more audiences, you can see if you clicked here, this is that same view that we had inside of the ad groups. I do want to quickly run through the engagement. You can see it could also go through and create ones for site visits. So you can go and target people who have gone to your website and viewed a specific product the last 30 days, last 60 days. This would basically be remarketing. And then here you have customer lists where you could go through and actually upload an email list of your current customers. This would be great for excluding current customers from your ads or for creating act-like audiences, which would be right here where you go through and say, okay, I want to target people who act like the people who have engaged this ad. And you could say, I don't want to target the people who have engaged with this ad, but find me more people who are likely to also engage with it or likely to go through and purchase my product or service. I don't want to bore you too much by going through and creating all these different audiences because they're very similar to the one that we just created. So now we've covered this first option, which is add an audience list. And to be honest, that's probably the hardest one to set up. And for most people who are just beginning, I would probably recommend instead of trying to create your own audience list, starting off with interest and keywords instead, which is this section right here. And you can see inside of here, there's lots of different things that you can target, and it's very straightforward. They have all sorts of different interests and all sorts of different keywords that you can target. Let's say, for example, that we were trying to sell a lamp. What we could do here is come into one of these categories and find whatever it matches the most with us. You can see we have home decor, and we could go through and target all of home decor, but we probably want to click on these little drop downs to get a better idea if there's a more narrow focus for us. You can see you have flooring here, floor tiles, and then you have exterior, entrance, door. And then here is a great one for us. We have lighting. So if we click down in lighting, you can see that now there's this category for lamps. And even inside of lamps, there is floor lamps, lamp shades, and table lamps. And we're actually going to be targeting a floor lamp. Now, what you're going to notice in this right-hand side, our audience went from almost 80 million. We went from 80 million plus, basically targeting anybody inside of Pinterest. If we go through and click this now to floor lamps, now down to a very narrow audience around 9 to 10K. So do keep that in mind that this will be a narrow audience, which means the ad fatigue may be a lot shorter with something like this. A lot of times people ask me what is a good audience size inside of Pinterest. And unlike other platforms, I haven't necessarily nailed down the perfect audience size when it comes to Pinterest. So I would recommend do what you think is best for your business. Sometimes targeting narrow is good, and sometimes targeting more broad is good. It just kind of depends, and it's something that you're going to have to test individually for your business. So that's how we could go through and target interest, but let's also talk about how we could go through and target keywords. Now, keywords are pretty straightforward as well. In this situation, what I recommend doing is just typing in a general keyword related to your niche and seeing what pops up here in this related keywords. You can see, for instance, when we type lamps, Pinterest is now going to go through and auto suggest a lot of different keywords related to lamps, and it gives you an idea of the search volume for these specific keywords as well. You can see lamp decor, lamp decorations, lamp decor, a lot of lamp decor basically. Now these are all good, but I want a floor lamp specifically, so I'm going to maybe try and get a little bit more granular here. Let's try floor lamps and see if it gives me anything. A lot of times if you go too narrow, it might not give you suggestions, but here we go. So we have floor lamp mid-century. This is a great one for me to target. Floor lamp bedroom, floor lamp living room, floor lamp living rooms, floor lamp woods. So you kind of get the idea. And now all of a sudden our monthly active audience is now is a little bit higher. It's up to 37,000, between 37,000 and 41,000, as opposed to when we were just targeting the floor lamps category where it was like 9K, I believe, or somewhere around there. So I'm just going to go through and add a few more of these that I really like, that I think go along with the ad that we have. And we'll call that good right there. And in case that wasn't enough, you can always click this see more, and Pinterest will go through and give you even more options. You can kind of infinitely scroll through those keywords. And it is important to note the difference between interest targeting and keyword targeting. If you remember at the very beginning of the video, when I just came to my Pinterest profile and I'm on just the home tab, that I was seeing kind of advertising based on a lot of my search history, where I have a MailChimp provider. So I have MailChimp, so I'm seeing a MailChimp ad here. And then when I'm scrolling over here, I'm seeing this 30% off clearance for a lamp now that I'm searching for different things. Another just like generic Peloton one. These are interest-based because it's based on my browsing history essentially. But the keyword-based ones are when I'm actually going to the search browser and searching for something like cooking recipes. That's where these keyword targeting show up, and you get specific ads that are related to those keywords. So do keep that in mind when you are considering whether you want to do interest-based targeting or keyword-based targeting. Now, when it comes to keywords inside of Pinterest, there is one other important thing that I do want to point out, and that is keyword modifications. If you see here down in the bottom, you can see here that there are different keyword formats. You have broad match, phrase match, exact match, and then negative match as well. And this is something that they took from Google Ads almost exactly. And so I do want to briefly explain what broad match, phrase match, exact match, and negative keywords are. If you just leave these keywords as they are without any symbols or things, they're going to be broad match. And what that means, if we look here, this says Google, but it's the exact same principles. And that's because Pinterest is both a search engine just like Google and a social media platform, which makes it really interesting. But you can see here, if we had the keyword tennis shoes, for instance, and we were using broad match, inside of Pinterest, we could show up for close variants, such as socks for running. Even though it doesn't have the word tennis in it at all, it's a close variant, and that's a broad match. If we were using phrase match here, don't worry about the modified broad match, that doesn't apply here. But if we're using phrase match and we had parentheses in our keywords, you can see that if we had the keyword tennis shoes, we could show up for keyword phrases with words before or after the close variant. So tennis shoes, you could show up for Nike tennis shoes or blue tennis shoes, or tennis shoes for running is a keyword that you could show up for. And then finally is exact match, which is exactly what it sounds like, is if we have the keyword tennis shoes, we can only show up for the keyword tennis shoes or very close variants to that. So if you come back over here to Pinterest, back over to our example for lamps, the way that we have these formatted right now, technically we could show up for blue. If somebody was searching for blue floor lamps mid-century, we could show up for that. If we wanted to only show up for these keywords specifically, you would go through and add a bracket, which would make it an exact match. So you'd have to go through and add the brackets right here, and then a bracket right here. And then now I would only be showing up for floor lamps mid-century. To be honest though, most of the time especially when I'm first starting out a campaign, I keep everything in a broad match. So if this is confusing you at all, just stick with broad match to begin with. And then as you start to get more familiar with Pinterest ads, you can start maybe playing around with phrase match or exact match. However, it would be a good strategy to go through and add a couple of negative keywords in this spot. So you can see here that I have floor lamps, and let's say that I'm only selling a floor lamp and I'm not selling a table lamp. So I don't want people who are specifically searching for table lamp. In this case, you can see we can go through and add a negative phrase match keyword, and what we could do in this situation is add a negative sign and then do table lamps. What that is going to do is it's going to make sure that our ads are not showing up for any search terms that are related to table lamps. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse here and bore you to death with all these different match types, but hopefully that gives you enough information to go off and kind of test different things on your own. So we're going to scroll down here now and come to the demographics, and this is pretty self-explanatory. You can also go through and target different genders, age, location, languages, devices, and then here we have the actual placements and tracking. And this is where you can further specify on whether you want to target search only or browse. As you can see here, Pinterest does recommend all, which is what I recommend as well, because Pinterest is using different data points to figure out when people might take actions on your pins. So most of the time, unless you really know what you're doing, I would recommend staying on the all placements and targeting. And as you can see here, because we are optimizing for conversions, we have our pixel our Shopify conversion tag setting here, and then it's going to ask what event we would like to optimize towards. You could do purchases, checkout, add to cart, different things. For now, we're just going to do add to cart. And then now it's going to take us to bidding, and you're going to see here that there's this new automatic bidding for Pinterest. This has been working out really well for me. However, I still have been seeing better results when it comes to custom, and I still like to start out using a custom bid from the beginning so that I have a little bit more control on how much I know I'm going to be spending. Now, I do recommend going through and setting a custom bid to begin with. If you aren't getting impressions or your ads aren't getting clicks, essentially, I would recommend coming back in here and adjusting this back to automatic. If you don't want to deal with having to set a custom bid, you could set this on automatic as well. But here, we're just going to set this at a $10 cost per acquisition. And now finally, we have arrived to actually setting up the ads themselves. When it comes to the ads, you have 3 different options. You can select a pin from one of your boards or paid partnerships. You can create a pin, or you can create an idea pin. Creating a pin is going to be your standard or video collection pins, or you can go through and create an idea pin. Now, idea pins I found are great for growing accounts, but for actually getting results inside of Pinterest ads, I have not seen great results with idea pins for ads specifically. So I would recommend doing one of these two, selecting one of the pins from your boards or partnerships, or creating standard or video pin. So I'll go through on how to select a pin and then how to create one. But before I do that, I do want to talk really quickly about what a good pin looks like and best practices when it comes to actually creating pins inside of Pinterest. Now, in order to give you a little bit of inspiration on what a good ad looks like on Pinterest, I've actually created this Pinterest board, which is Pinterest ad examples. I'll leave a link to this down below. You can see that none of these show the little promoted thing by it. That's because ads you can actually go through and save, and then now it's just an organic listing. But trust me, these were all ads at some point that I found when I was going through Pinterest. But I want to talk about some of the points that I've gleaned from these and my own experience when running ads and what you should consider when you start creating ads. So the first thing that I want you to always be thinking about before you create any Pinterest ad is, what is my scroll stopper? Whether it's an image or a video, how can you get somebody to stop inside of the feed and actually look at your ad? If we come over here to the feed, for instance, just this home feed, you can see there is a lot of competition. There's a lot of images. There's a lot of awesome things happening. So how can you get somebody to stop? Here's a quick example of this. So you notice how this flashes red, yellow, blue, and it kind of catches your eye. If we come over here to the home feed and we just kind of are scrolling through, it really does stand out if it plays. It really does stand out, this kind of flashing. So that's one thing that you could do. Another scroll stopper is really close shots like this. You can see how much space this actually takes up, and people are naturally drawn to someone's face. And so the fact that it's so close is another good scroll stopper. If you are going for search, customize the copy to the search queries. And what I mean by that, say that you have a product that is waterproof watches. If I go onto Pinterest and I'm searching for waterproof watches, be sure that your ad copy actually mentions that keyword and that the image applies to that specific keyword. And the next point is to take advantage of video when possible. It's just, I think everybody kind of knows this, but when you are scrolling through just a normal feed, a video, you can see here, this video is what catches my eye. Everything else is standing still. This video is what is catching my eye. So take advantage of that when possible. If your brand is very heavy on images, that's okay. But here's a really creative example of an ad that utilizes both images and video. I really like this because there's motion going on here, but it's also very clearly showcasing the product the entire time. Splashing in water, kind of getting your attention, but you can clearly see what this pin is about. And if you are curious on the best length for videos, it is 16 to 15 seconds. This isn't a hard and fast rule. This is what I've found from testing, and this actually comes directly from Pinterest. You can see here, choose the right length. For video ads, 6 to 15 seconds works best. And wrapping things up, another couple of tips is to add value when possible. Here's a great example of an add value. There's just a color theory cheat sheet, free download, and then also a before and after or a completion. When you're seeing something that is from beginning to end, for example, I think this is a great one. You can see that this isn't quite done yet, but she's going to go through and add the final square, and it's just very satisfying for people to go through and see these final squares being added inside of here. Or for example, this one right here, which I didn't even realize was an ad for the longest time, but you can see these guys go through and do this awesome little door, and then at the end they just show their actual shop and then the phone number there. I think this is a genius ad, and you can see the crazy engagement that this thing is getting, the amount of replies. I bet this is actually absolutely crushing it for their business. And then last little tip, this isn't TikTok, so do keep in mind that a lot of people scroll through Pinterest without the sound on. So when you are creating your videos, don't rely heavily on audio and assume that your users are watching without sound. And like I said, if you wanted to go through and check out this board yourself to get more inspiration, I'll leave a link to this down below. I'm always adding to it, and there's lots of different niches inside of here. But now let's actually head back to our ads. And as I mentioned, if you wanted to just go through and select one of your pins to run as an ad, it's very easy. If you click inside of here, you notice Pinterest will come up and it will have your pins. If you click this, say that we wanted to run this as an ad, we can add that pin, And then here you can go through and give the ad a name. We're going to keep that as it is. And then here's where you'd go through and add your destination URL. If you wanted to go through and add a tracking parameter, you could go through and do that here, but it is optional. If you were happy with that, you could go through and publish, but I do want to show you how to create a standard pin as well. So for this, all you need to do is come in and drag or drop the image or video that you're wanting to run as an ad. You can see here's one for the floor lamp that I was talking about. You can go through and give this pin a title. Do keep in mind the keywords that you are wanting to target. So we give it a title and then go through and give it a nice description. So give that just a quick description. Then you can go through and add tags. So these tags can be things like lamps. If you search here, it will go through and give you different ideas for tags. Let's see if there's anything for lamps here. Home decor, lighting, and then let's look what else there is for lamps. And we have here 4 lamps. So that's another great tag for us as well. And then here's where you would go through and do your destination link. And then finally, you will have to add this to a board. So keep that in mind. You can go through and do whatever board you've gone through and created. And we're going to say that this is just going to be in the Edison light decor. And then we're going to hit publish. And you can see we now have our ad name, the destination, and I did mention that we do want to come back over here and name this ad group. So we are targeting based off of keywords, and that's what I like to put inside of here. So I know it's keywords, and then it's based on lamps, basically, like lamp keywords. So I just try to be as descriptive as possible inside this ad group so I know exactly what's running inside of here. And then now we have our ads, and the last thing to do is I'm going to remove this pin. And our last thing to do is go through and actually publish this ad. And that will drop you into a tab like this where you can see you have the campaign, ad group, ads, and then also your keywords if you wanted to go back and edit anything. This is where you can also come through and keep track of the data coming in from your campaign, how much you're spending, the actual results, how many sales, how many impressions, the pin clicks, click-through rate, different things like that. If you wanted, you can go through and change the date up here. And this graph will start showing you things like your spend or impression, or you can change this to click-through rate, outbound clicks. This is basically where you can go through and keep track of the performance of your campaigns. So congratulations, you now know how to set up and run a Pinterest ad with best practices all in place. If you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel or like the video down below. It really does help a ton, and we'll see you in the next video.